Hello everyone, this is G and I'm back with another video. So, this is happening. It's happening. I've just finished watching episode 1 of Heman Revelations. Or rather, Masters of the Universe Revelations. I mean, literally just finished watching it. So I have my notes here. I literally took notes, right? I don't know if the camera can like catch it or anything, but I have pages of notes on the first episode alone, right? So I'm actually gonna try to just go through like every episode tonight. So you might be getting a lot of videos because I don't. I know that some channels like MJ Tanner and Crimson Sin and what I'd like to do it once a week. I don't have the patience with this show. It's been one episode, and I do not have the patience with this show to be doing this like once a week or once a day. I'm gonna try. I'm gonna try to actually get this done with each episode tonight or over tonight, and then maybe over the week. If I can't get it done today, I hope to get it done today. But if I can't get it done today, then maybe over the week as my work schedule permits, because I cannot with this show. There are exactly two things good about episode 1. The art. The art is great. I may not agree with every character design choice. I've said what I have to say literally 1,000 times over, especially on Twitter, about Teela's upcoming redesign, right? This is her ceremony outfit, which is still very much based on her 80s look. Although she looks very much like Alexander the Great from Reign the Conqueror here in this particular still, but I can't with this show. But as I was saying, there's two good things: the art and He-Man. Actually, He-Man, Adam, right? The art is good, and Adam, for the little bit of time we actually get to see him be a focal point, be important to the story. Um, he's a hero. He was actually, for the most part, in character. The only thing that I noticed that really didn't seem to make sense, and perhaps it's just because it's supposed to be a darker, more mature take on the show, is that he really didn't snark during the battle. Maybe it's because of the seriousness of it all, being the sacking of Castle Grayskull, or now the Palace of Wisdom or whatnot. But he's usually I've actually been watching a few episodes of Classic He-Man to sort of get an idea of what the differences are, and he's usually quite snarky, a bit sassy in battle. But then again, so is Skeletor. Now, Skeletor, many people have mentioned that it's Mark Hamill using his Joker voice, and yeah, but it's not just Mark Hamill using his Joker voice. He's more or less playing Skeletor as the Joker, right? It's it's like the Joker cosplaying as Skeletor. Even the jokes that Skeletor makes in the show are the type of jokes that the Joker would make, not the type of jokes that Skeletor would make. Right? Skeletor, for example, is usually very insulting toward his minions, and at least in this particular episode, that really didn't come across here. He's actually fairly respectful toward Evil Lyn, and he in the old series it seems like he had absolutely no respect for her or anyone else. And another interesting thing is how Evil Lyn seems to be, at least at the moment, fairly loyal to him. Right? The original series made it clear that she was definitely like the Starscream, right? Like she was looking for any opportunity to betray him. In fact, there's one episode from the original series where her and Teela more or less have to work together to survive in a desert or whatnot, and they build a fire. And Teela sort of ask Evil Lyn in that episode what her deal is, why she's working for Skeletor, and Evil Lyn makes it clear she's only with Skeletor um, for the power, right? She eventually wants to overthrow him, right? It isn't really about personal loyalty. Whereas um, in this series, at least throughout the episodes that we have available, she does seem to be sincerely loyal to him, right? Even at the end, right, when Adam gets stabbed again, right? at the end of episode 5, right, she willingly goes back to Skeletor, right? I think it's Andrew or whatever who says, don't do this, or Teela says, don't do this, and yet she willingly goes right back to Skeletor. It's like watching Sindel get all huggy with Shao Kahn. It's just icky. But anyway, that's later on. But that's some of the stuff that I noticed. So to briefly summarize the episode, right? So it's basically this general summary of the episode. The episode opens with Teela being knighted as the next man at arms or the newest man at arms. I'm not quite sure how that works. It's not really a big deal, but it's not really made clear if she's replacing Duncan, who is the man at arms, or whether she's just attained the same rank as him. It's not really made clear. I guess it's pretty much a non-point. But still, I wish I kind of understood that a little bit more. And so basically, there's this ceremony going on, and during the ceremony where Teela's being knighted, right, Castle Grayskull is being attacked by Skeletor and his forces. And Skeletor's forces pretty much easily just take over Grayskull. I mean, the Sorceress, the Sorceress characterization in this made no sense. She's supposed to be like one of the most powerful, if the most powerful woman, if not person, in Eternia, outside of He-Man himself. Yet she can't tell that the stone silent He-Man looking brute next to her isn't He-Man, right? Like there were just so many choices that just made no sense to me, right? It's just so much stuff that just made no sense. I mean, there's even one point where she gets like caught in a force field or whatever, and like Evil Lyn is sort of the one who kind of like puts her in the force field. I'm like, Evil Lyn, really? You're telling me the Sorceress, the literal source of power for He-Man and his sword, can't just blast Evil Lyn right back out the door? Really? So anyway, the Sorceress is totally mischaracterized, played for a fool. They make her look incredibly stupid here. Everybody looks stupid in this, honestly, with the exception of He-Man and Skeletor, right? But everybody else, in one way or another, looks like a damn fool. But anyway, so what happens is that while this is going on, right, you have the ceremony for Teela being knighted and everything, and at a certain point, the Sorceress finally, right, reaches out to He-Man in like a last-ditch effort type of thing, right? And so, he gets a headache and he realizes that, that they have to go to the castle. So he tells Duncan, and Duncan's like, Castle Grayskull is being attacked. We have to go, right? So, and here's one of the really good Adam scenes, and there aren't many here because he doesn't get too much focus or attention in the episode. But what I like is that when they sort of understand that, okay, Castle Grayskull is being attacked, the soldiers have to go and fight. The ceremony's over. That one of the first things Adam does is try to usher everyone out. Right, the king is like, Eternians, follow me. We have to get out of here to safety, right? Because they're civilians. Thank you. Finally, something makes a little bit of sense. So he's ushering them all out, right? They're all following the king and queen, and Adam's holding the door. He's even saying, yes, follow your king, follow your queen. Now, of course, the practical reason that he's ushering them out is because he can't have anybody witness him transform into He-Man, right? But I did like the fact that he actually was trying to help, right? So you have that. And then, right, they finally get to Grayskull, right? I'm kind of wondering why there were so many forces running on foot when they obviously have like ships and they have vehicles and they have those like flying, those like flyer things, and they even show that, and yet you have Teela and a small contingent of soldiers literally running on foot, like they're the Roman legionnaires or whatever. But okay, minor thing. So they get there, and everybody is still more or less played like a complete idiot. So what happens is that there is some fighting for all this talk about being dark and metal in action, it's not too much action here. But there's some fighting, and then because apparently Skeletor is the smartest man in the world, he's able to get He-Man to stab him in the gut and stab him against this particular device, which sort of unlocks the truth about Castle Grayskull, which is that it's really the Palace of Wisdom, right? And now, of course, here's what I don't get, right? Because Skeletor uses his staff to like crack this orb that has all this power, and that's what causes He-Man to have to sacrifice his life, right? But my thing is, okay, Skeletor was just stabbed. I get it. It's Eternia, it's a cartoon, everything is sort of exaggerated, but he's still just been stabbed. I mean, Adam pulls the sword out and Skeletor's dark blue blood is all over it. You're telling me that while Skeletor's telling Joker jokes, that no one's gonna think, okay, let's at least try to restrain the bleeding blue man? Right? So everybody just lets him talk. No one tries to restrain him or stop him. And then everybody acts shocked when he breaks the orb. Maybe because if you idiots had just restrained it. But anyway. Because he's now cracked this orb and all this energy, the Sorceress, who's finally grown a brain, thanks Kevin Smith for making a woman look dumb. You made a powerful woman look like a damned fool, so thanks a lot. But anyway, she freezes time, and she explains that they basically need to do something to absorb all this energy. They don't have time, right? And her power is gonna wear out, right? And this is what convinces Adam to more or less sacrifice himself. He actually has it's very brief, but it's a touching moment when he realizes that he has to do this, right? And Teela even asks him, I think it's Teela who asks him, it's like, why do you have to do it, right? Why do you have to do this? And he even explains, it's like, I have no choice, right? It's very much a needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few type situation. I don't know if that particular scene in Wrath of Khan was an inspiration for this, but it was actually quite nice, right? So Adam somehow comes up with the idea of using the sword to basically absorb this orb's power, and because of that, he splits the sword, and he, of course, because of all this power and whatnot, he actually de-transforms. Teela first notices the de-transformation from Battle Cat to Cringer, and that's what sort of clues her in to look at Adam, and that's when she sees He-Man becoming Adam again, right? And then of course Skeletor's like, no, the power is mine, and he grabs Adam, and then they both is just a smear on the floor, and they're both gone, right? And then it goes to, of course, where this comes from, which is when King Randor finds out that his son has died. Right? At first he thinks it's just He-Man, right? Duncan tells him that He-Man fell in battle. Randor thinks it's just He-Man, right? He-Man died with honor, and then it's Queen Marlena who tells him that no, our son has just died, right? And then it gets revealed that she knew and that Duncan knew, and the king loses it, right? He's like, Duncan is banished. If you ever come back, I'll have you killed. Now, I know that a lot of people were very, very upset with this scene, saying that Randor is out of character. Now, for those who are much more knowledgeable He-Man fans than I am, I acknowledge you're probably right. But I'm just trying to evaluate this as much as I can as it is, right? So I can understand Randor's anger. His son has just died. It's not just the hero of the realm. It's his own child. It's a much more personal. And the fact that no one knew. Well, him and what I should say is, his own wife knew and didn't tell him. Man-at-Arms knew and didn't tell him. Right? So I can understand him being so angry that he just wants to banish the man. It's like, you knew this and you never told me. You just watched my son die and you didn't do anything. Which is, of course, and I want to be clear, it's not right to blame Duncan. Duncan isn't to blame. Even Teela, for all of her poor characterization, isn't to blame. But I can understand the king's rage at that moment, so I really can't get mad at him in that scene. And this is not to invalidate the viewpoint of the more knowledgeable He-Man fans. I'm just saying that for me, his reaction made sense given the circumstances. What did not make sense was Teela's bratty rant. Now, here's the thing. I've seen some say, oh, it's just misplaced anger. No, it's not. That's how the show wants us to see it, that it's misplaced anger on her part, that it's like the king is just her acting in anger and grief. That's the way the show wants us to see it. That's not the way it actually comes across, though. She's a brat. She's a brat. This is pretty much her uh, I'm mad as hell, I'm not taking it anymore, I quit scene. Which might make a little bit more sense if, for example, when she's told to, escort Duncan out, right, she says no, and then she defends Duncan. Like I could understand her quitting in protest if she spoke up to the king and said, look, no, Duncan is not to blame, right? Duncan has been a loyal soldier. He's raised me. He's helped, raise and train Adam. Like, if she had defended her father at that moment and the king doesn't listen, then I could understand her quitting. It does not make sense here. The funny thing is that she's supposed to be this great hero, yet, first of all, the series never, at least this episode I should say, never actually shows her doing anything particularly heroic. This was the one scene where it could have been not about Teela. Everything else, right, in the beginning was all about Teela. Teela's wonderful. Teela's awesome. She's the greatest warrior. She's done all of this stuff, right? And she's eating up all the praise. Everything has been about her. This was her one chance to make something not about her. And she ruins it. And she ruins it because he's like, I've been sacrificing my life for a pack of liars. It's like, speak to anybody in any military in any country. They can relate, but they don't quit. The majority of them don't quit. I think that this particular part, the banishment scene, would have worked better if as I mentioned previously, if Teela speaks up for her father, and that is why she quits, right? She defends him, the king doesn't listen, she quits in protest because she's going to stand by her father, right? It's not like the king goes out and fights, right? Warriors stick together, right? I can understand that. Or, and this is the way I think it really should have played out, since they were both there and they both witnessed He-Man die, they both witnessed Adam die, have Randor in his anger strip them both of their rank and banish them from the palace. Simple. Easy breezy. It gets her out of there, gets Duncan out of there without them looking bad, because then it's not their fault. They're not quitting, they've just been banished. All the blame is on the very angry king, right? So if it were me, if I could have written this, that's what I would have done. Just have Randor in his rage, banish them both. It's simple, clean. You can always have him uh, re 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 Jesus regret it later, and then try to make it up to them, try to bring them back into the fold and everything, right? But to have her quit, and not just quit, but make it all about herself and her anger and her betrayal, does not help with her characterization one bit. It does not make her likable or relatable. It makes her look like a bratty 15-year-old, especially considering the fact that the king himself didn't know until now. So it's not like they were keeping just you out of the loop. They were keeping everybody, with the exception of the Sorceress and Duncan and I think Orko and the Queen. It's not quite explained how or why the Queen knows, but she knows, right? That's another thing. And this is my issue. No one calls Teela out. no one calls Teela out. Duncan tries to tell her to like pipe down, but like no one actually calls her out for her arrogance in this scene. Like this should have been a moment where the queen is like, everybody shut up. Everybody shut up, and you little red-haired brat, don't you ever talk to my husband like that again. Right? This would have been a perfect time for the queen to explain, right, just to the audience at large, but also to Teela and to Duncan, why He-Man kept it a secret. Well, Duncan knows. Sorry. Explain to Teela and explain to Randor why Adam kept it a secret and why she and Duncan also um, kept it a secret, right? Why they didn't tell anybody? Because think about it. I mean, your own wife is keeping a secret this big from you about your child, right? Like, why didn't the king go, Marlena, how do you know? Why have you been keeping this from me? Right, but no, none of that. Everybody is just stone silent while Teela has her I quit moment, right? She feels betrayed. She picks up her ball and she goes home, right? And then as she's walking through the street, she looks back at the castle sadly, and then she leaves, right? So I want to share with y'all the literal notes that I took during the first episode. Now, if they seem a bit out of order, it's because I was writing them down as the episode went on. But here are the literal notes that I took and wrote down as the episode went on. One of the few good things is that, similar to the original show, the episode is only about 20-25 minutes long. So it's actually not that hard to sit through. But here are the notes that I took. They hype Teela too much. She hasn't done anything yet. Too much exposition. Dialogue is not natural. Teela Man-at-Arms hug is sweet. Maybe have him swear her in instead. Meaning that, maybe he should be the one, sort of doing like the swearing in ceremony. Right? Knighting her instead of necessarily the king. I wish Man-at-Arms had been a bit more involved in that. Right? But continuing. Why is the sorceress so dumb and easily overpowered? How did the sorceress not know Faker wasn't He-Man? They tell us what Teela did, don't show what Teela did. Why is Teela so cocky? Heroes are humble. The sorceress is the most powerful woman in Eternia. How is Evelyn beating her? Sacking of Grayskull should have been two-parter, as I said earlier. Alright, so more notes. Sorceress calls on on He-Man way too late. Adam is a hero. Why didn't He-Man Sorceress have a plan to protect Castle Grayskull during ceremony? Sailor Moon transformation. This is when He-Man transforms in the show. Many people have covered this. It's very Sailor Moon-esque, right? Could use Thunderclap from the OG series. If you've seen the original series, you know that when he holds the sword, it's like, I have the power. You usually hear this loud thunders, loud roar of thunder. So I kind of wish they had brought that in. Right, so it says, why are some, meaning soldiers, on foot when they have vehicles and gliders? Why is He-Man not sassy? Why didn't Sorceress warn Duncan about Evil Lyn? Meaning that when Duncan tries to like figure out what's going on, he's asking, "Are you hurt?" Evil Lyn, who has been invisible, blast him, and I'm like, the Sorceress knows she's there. Why didn't she warn Duncan? Right, so it says, for such a great warrior, Teela does nothing. Skeletor Fireball was cool. Everyone is dumb but Skeletor. Why? Skeletor is wounded, talking, but no one thinks to restrain him. How does Adam know that his idea to use the sword will work? How do you even get the idea to use the sword? He-Man Adam is best boy, and the only one mostly in character. Had Teela defended Duncan and quit in protest, that would make more sense. Her self-righteous anger falls flat and makes her look awful. Alternately, have Randor banish them both in anger. I've just been at length about that. They were honoring you, meaning Teela. They were honoring you, Teela, earlier, and you had no complaints. Now Teela whines like a brat. Tell everyone to shut up and let her explain Adam's secret. Why doesn't Queen contest banishment of Duncan? To protect the royals is to protect the Eternia, Teela, right? So those were my literal notes, right? So I would say more or less this is pretty much my review of the first episode, right? So I'm gonna be on now to episode 2, and I will let you know. I will let you guys know what I think about that one. But yeah, I am not a happy girl. I am not a happy girl at all. What's sad is that you can again tell more or less the same story, but if you just change a few elements, if you just actually ask these questions, like all the questions I had on those pages, you just ask those questions and you work those changes into the story, you can still get more or less the same result, but in a much more satisfying way. But again, Kevin Smith and company don't seem to be terribly good storytellers, right? But anyhow, that's the first video. Please, or first review, I should say. Please let me know what you think, and I will see you all in the next one. This is about the length of the episode, right? So please let me know what you think, and I will see you all in the next one. Have a good day or night. Bye.